guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about TQs. So as you guys could probably surmise just by the name of it, TQ, or rather just queue, a queue is simply a queue of information that you can pull from and push to, etc., etc. So it's basically just a list of stuff that can happen in sequential first in, first out order. So this can be useful in many different cases. For example, like a ticketing system, buffering, anything that and everything that you would need to be able to like put in something or several different things and then execute them all in the sequential order that you put them in the list as. So we're going to show a brief tutorial and examination of this, showing off what a TQ can actually do for you. So let's go ahead and change the caption of the form to TQ example. We're going to give it a theme. So let's go project options. Wait for the window to come up, and then we're going to change the theme. So let's go all the way to the bottom here. I've got a theme called Green Graphite, which I've fallen in love with. All right, so this one here is good, and we're going to grab ourselves a list box. So there's a list box, and we're going to drag that on out, pull it on up, pull it down here, and we're going to now grab ourselves a button. So we're going to throw down one button, two buttons, and we're going to need two more buttons. So we're going to throw down a button here and a button down below it. So now then, we're going to pull this up here, pull that to about midway. We're going to do the same with this one. So in this button, we're actually going to call this caption of the button Enqueue. And then we're going to put the dequeue button as dequeue. Now we're going to need to pull these buttons out here like so, both of them. And we're going to call these buttons number one, or rather the number 3 button will be called peak first item in queue. And then this button is going to be peak all items in queue. So then we're going to grab ourselves an edit box so that we can actually type in information to be entered into a queue on our own command. So we're going to pull this on out, pull that up here. We're going to make the, let's do, trying to think here, guys. Let's see if we can get the text hint to show. Enter something for the queue. Guess we can just do that. And then we're going to drag these buttons up just a hair, make them line up as best we can. Make sure that this is lined up right where it needs to be. Take this on up, and then we're going to set the border icons for the form to be only a close button, and we're going to also make it to where it cannot be resized. So I'm going to put BS single, so border style size of single, where the user can't move it around. Okay, then we're going to set the position of the form to be in the center of our screen. So when I run it, I don't get annoyed and have to drag it to the center of my screen so you guys can see what we're doing. Okay, let's go ahead and start programming this bad boy. So let's go into the code. Anywhere in the code's fine, because we're going to have to make a few declarations at the top of our code. The first declaration we're going to actually have to make is going ahead and creating our queue. So in the private declarations here, I'm just going to use private. We could use public, but we only have one form anyway. We're going to call this queue. It's that simple, guys. We're just going to make a queue. It's going to be called a TQ. So Q, U, E, U, E. And this queue is going to be a type of string. So now we have a TQ created, and we can do this type of stuff, right? However, you'll notice that something seems to be wrong. Undeclared identifier TQ. This is because you have to include the generics.collections uses statement. So we're going to have to type in generics.collections. Make sure that is added in fully into our program. So make sure you added generics.collections, And then you should be able to see no issue down here, okay? So what we're going to do is when the program runs, we're going to create our queue in memory so that we can use it throughout our code. So when the form runs and the program runs, we have a variable up here called queue, and it's a tqueue type of string. So it's a queue of strings, right? But in order to create it in Delphi, since this is a native language and it's a typed language, you're gonna have to not only declare it as what it is up here, you have to initialize it down here in the code. So we're gonna put queue is gonna be equivalent to tqueue dot string type dot create. Now we've actually created the actual queue that we're going to be calling queue throughout our entire program, okay? And it's actually in RAM right now. So like as soon as I click run, boom, it's in RAM and we can use it, all right? So now that that's over with, we need to start programming stuff into the queue. So we need to be able to enqueue whatever's in here, and then we need to be able to dequeue whatever we put into the queue in memory. We also need to be able to peek the first item and show it, and we need to be able to loop the queue and show all the items. So let's go ahead and do the first one, which is in queue. So let's start basic. We have a queue in memory, and we would like to shove something into it. So how do we do that? We're going to make a variable, and we're going to call this variable item. And it's just a string. That's all it is, just a simple string, right? And we're going to say item is equivalent to edit one.text. And then we're going to say if item is not nothing, so we're just going to put an empty string. So if it's not blank, then begin. And now we can actually do something here. So we're going to simply put in queue dot enqueue our item. So now we have the item shoved into our queue. And then we need to update the list box too, because if we just click the button, it's just going to go into memory into the queue. But we want to show it visually so that you guys can see the queue visually with your own eyeballs and see what's happening under the hood, so to speak. So we're going to, instead of just doing it all right here, we're actually going to create another procedure here, which is going to be for updating our list box. So let's go ahead and come on down a little bit, and let's just do procedure tform1, and we're going to do update list box. And we're going to make an item, which is a string. And then we're going to begin this out and do our work. So we're going to first of all clear out the list box from prior results. And then we're going to say, we're going to put listbox one dot, here we'll just do this, form one dot listbox one dot clear, and then we'll come down and say for each item. So for the item in, we're going to delete this crap out of here. So for the item in the queue, so for each item or each string in the queue, we're going to loop it. We're going to say form one dot listbox one dot items dot add item, and I'll make that a capital I. By the way, just in case you guys are wondering, Delphi is not a case-sensitive language, so take that with a grain of salt, what I just did there, okay? Now, we need to create the declaration for this. So let's go back up, because as you can see, this is red because we never declared it up here. So we got to make sure that we declare a procedure for this up here. I'm actually leaving this as a private declaration, so let's just put it down here. So let's put procedure and then update list box, and that's that. Should be okay at this point. All right, so now back to what we were doing. So what we were doing is enqueuing, but then we want to update the list box. So basically what we have to essentially do is call what we just wrote, which is our newly created update list box procedure. So we're going to just simply call it, and I'm going to copy it because I'm lazy. We're just going to copy that, and we're going to paste it right there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to code the other buttons. And just so you know, I'll go ahead and run this just so you guys can see. So now that this is running in memory, let's go ahead and click, let's type in hello, or we'll put first command, how about command 1, and then we're going to enqueue that. And as you can see, if we keep doing it, it keeps adding command into the queue, command 1 into the queue. Now you could type in other things and enqueue it, and it puts whatever you type in into the queue list. So in memory, we have a big old list of stuff here, and now I need to teach you how to loop them and do stuff with them, right? So we're going to go ahead and learn about dequeue now. So on the dequeue button, we want to be able to remove the first item that is being messed with. So like if you guys are programming some sort of like chat program or like something that, you know, here, and I'll even run this again and try to explain. If you guys were writing some sort of like chat software or something, and the first person that was named Benny, and then he said something like hello, this could be like a kind of like a command statement, if you will. So Benny said hello, so then you could peek into this, find the command, find the user and the message that they sent, have your server rapidly send that out to everybody, and then dequeue it to get rid of it. So that's what we're going to do right now. So in the dequeue, we need to write if our queue.count is greater than 0, which means there has to be stuff in the queue, then begin, and we're going to do something. So since there's something in the queue that we know is there, we're going to say queue.dequeue, and that's it. And then we're going to update our list box, and that's it, guys. It is that simple. So enqueuing is one line of code, and dequeuing is one line of code. One line of code and one line of code. How easy is that? So now that we can actually do this type of stuff, see here, I'll try to give you a quick demonstration of what this would be like in your actual program. So you guys could use TQs for listing stuff. So like, for example, let's say that you have a massive server with tens of thousands of chatters online, and you have like multiple threads in the background, all working with this T thread. God forbid, by the way, that would be a terrible thing. You guys really need to think a better system for that, but that's the best example I can give. So let's say that Benny says hi or hello, and that comes into the central server. Okay, it goes into the queue, and then let's say 5,000 other people are typing at the same time. So Ray, you know, he says, yo, Benny, how you doing? And then, you know, that gets put into the queue, right? So now Benny's message hasn't been sent to Ray yet, and Ray's hasn't been sent to Benny yet. So the central server has this queue that it's going to look into, and the first one that it finds is this one, and then the second one that it finds is this one. So it looks at the Benny hello, and there would need to be another parameter here saying who to send it back to, but you guys get the point. The server would look at Benny hello, and then it would process that and send Benny's message hello to Ray, and then it would dequeue Benny's message. See? And then it would look at Ray's and send his message back to Benny, and then it would dequeue it, and then it's empty, and there's no more commands to process. You kind of like get like what you could do with a system like this, guys. It's kind of cool, right? So now what I'm going to teach you how to do is how to peek at different things. So let's say that this so-called system you wanted to peek at the command and get prepared for it. Like if, say, it was like an image type command, or if it was something to do with audio or video or something like that, and you just wanted to prep a buffer for it or something, or just maybe even just look and see what's going on in the queue, or loop through the queue and see if there's a certain type of command in the queue that needs to have a higher priority than other commands, and you want to dequeue that one only, or some crazy stuff like that. You can do it. So what we'll do is we're gonna learn to peek here. So in this button, we're going to peek at the first item that is shown. So we're going to start here and put if the queue.count, and obviously we're going to do the same thing we did before, is greater than 0, so we know that there's something valid in the queue. Then we're going to come on down here and we're going to say show message, and we're going to put first item, and then a plus, and then queue.peek, and that's it. Just like that. And then else will come down just in case the queue is actually empty. and in case it didn't have anything in it, we'll just put show message, and then we'll put queue is empty, just like that. And that'll be that. So now check this out, guys. If I want, I can run this, and whenever I enqueue something, so like Benny, he says hello to Ray, right? So I'm gonna enqueue that, and then I'm going to say Jimmy said hello to Benny, and then I'm going to enqueue that. So now there's two things in here, right? So if you already know how to enqueue and dequeue, but if I wanted to peek at something, so say that I wanted to click this, it looks into memory, looks at the peek command, grabs the very first in, first out command that was placed into the list. So if I click this, it says the first item is Benny Hello Ray. So the first item is Benny Hello Ray, and it is. It's the first item. So now I'm going to teach you guys. I'm going to dequeue these, close this out, and then I'm going to show you how to loop all the items in the queue now, which is also very, very basic stuff. But this could be useful if you want to loop for something in particular. Like, for example, I can tell you guys, I used to have a program that used TQs quite a bit, and back when I was learning, I wanted to figure out how I could process a specific command in my queue quicker than the rest of them. Because if I had a command come through, like say for an audio packet, that audio packet needed to be sent immediately, like instantly. No, not even a millisecond. Like it needed to be sent immediately. So like I created a prioritizational system where in my queues, I actually found what I needed to execute first and put it to the top of the queue and made sure it got done immediately with no questions asked, using multi-threading. So this button, we're going to loop through our queue, and I'm going to show message on this. So we're going to make a variable for an item, which is a string. Then we're also going to do an index, which is an integer, for our loop. Okay, and we're going to put if the queue dot count obviously is greater than 0, which means there is indeed something in the queue to actually loop through. We're going to begin, and we're going to put index is equal to 1. Okay, and then we're going to say for item. We're going to delete all this crap out. Delphi thinks I'm going to do something I'm not. In queue do. So for each item in the queue, we're going to show you the message and what they are. So we'll just do another begin here, and then we'll just start writing our code. So we're just going to show message, and then we're going to show the message of the item plus int to str index plus in queue, and then the item. And then we're going to increment the index plus 1, and it's going to loop. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to come down here. Now you see these lines here, guys. Like you see these little lines. These lines help you to navigate your code a little better. So like you can see that this end corresponds to this begin. So I'm saying that if the queue.count is greater than 0, then do all of this in between, right? But I actually want to put an else statement here as well, because what if the queue count is not 0? Like what if there's nothing in there or whatever? Like we want to be able to show a message, right? Just to warn us, to let us know. So I'm going to actually do an else statement down here at the bottom, and I'm going to put show message queue is empty. And that is that. So now then, guys, let's go ahead and save this, run this. And if you'll notice, we can actually go ahead and type in, I'll just put like hello, hi, goodbye. So we got 3 things in there, right? So if I want, I can look through them and visually here, just because we have it in our list box. I'm going to peek to the first item, and the first item is hello. I'm going to dequeue that item and look again at the first item, and the first item is hi now. And if I do it again, the next item would be goodbye. You see how it executes one by one as you dequeue them? So now I'm going to peek at all the items in the queue, and I'm just going to put some random stuff in here, guys. So just bear with me as I just put a bunch of random crap, and then we're going to peek at all of the items in the queue. So as you can see, the first item in the queue is hi. The second item in the queue is goodbye, and it is right there. 1, 2, right? See? And then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and there you have it. And then we can just start dequeuing from top to bottom. Now the only item left is the big long one, and it is there. And that, my friends, is how you use a Tqueue in Delphi. So in this tutorial, just to recover a little bit, you've learned how to enqueue items into a Tqueue. You've learned how to dequeue them in, first out sequential order. You've learned how to peek at the first item in the queue. You've also learned how to loop through and peek all the items in the queue. And that pretty much concludes learning about Tqueues in Delphi. It's really not that difficult. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, I wonder if like there was a way to maybe like instead of when I run this, if there's a way to, when you're putting stuff in, is there a way to make it to where you can go from bottom up? You sure can. You can change the statement in the code from the looping code into a down to statement. But also you could use a T stack rather than a TQ. And in the next video, I think I'm going to be making a video on this really soon. We're going to discuss T stack, which is kind of like a queue, but you push stuff on top of the stack instead of enqueuing to a list like this. So I'm going to dequeue these, and there's one more thing I'd like to show you guys before I close out the video, and that is I want you guys to try to really wrap your heads around this. This is our queue that we created. However, it is of type string. So guys, I want you to think about this. This is, for some people, this is really hard to grasp, so I'm trying to explain it as slowly as possible and as accurately as possible. This is a queue of type string, okay? So like everything we just put in here was just a bunch of string crap, right? And it comes directly from what the user types into the edit box field. But the thing is, this TQ, you can take this to the extent of your imagination. You do not have to just work with strings. You can work with integers, booleans, and just about every single other Delphi type there is in existence. But not only that, you can mix and match classes inside of a TQ. I've actually used TQs of type records that hold tens of thousands of bits of information. You can do this. Like a queue is just giving you the ability to create a list in memory and easily manage it with enqueue and dequeue statements and peek statements and stuff like this and that. You can edit this to have record data with pointers and everything else in between that you could possibly imagine. This is just the most basic, simplistic example I could think of to visually show you guys how a TQ works in general. But you can take it to extreme lengths by creating records. You can do TQs of like a bunch of stacked, like just anything, just really anything and everything you can think of, whatever your application needs, whatever you desire. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys how this was done. I thought maybe this might be a good thing for some of you that are kind of starting out in Pascal and Delphi and whatnot. So hopefully you guys can take from this and learn a little something. At least if anything, it gives you the ability to, process like one command at a time now in applications you might be writing or something. Kind of cool. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is saved. Don't worry, guys. You can check the link in the description for the source code for this and the project files. I will be giving them to you so you can look through the code. If you need any assistance with this, or if you're trying to build something with this and you're having trouble, send me a comment. Let me know. I'll be happy to help you if I can. Until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.